Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Alabama Day. Day number, I don't know, Sarah, I think it's day number 28 of the Saratoga meeting. It's so hard to remember at this point. She's Sarah Bodwy. I'm Andy Serling, but we're excited to be here for Alabama Day. A little overcast, but no showers, no nothing. It seems like another good day in front of us, and looking forward to today's 12 race card.
It's nice and cool too.
It
The
is.
sun might not be out, but it's still
Little
nice out as
breeze.
well. So
Feels good.
I'm certainly not complaining.
Yep,
Yeah.
no. Looking forward to a big day and a lot going on, so we'll get right to work as we do have 12 races on the card featuring the Alabama and the Lake Placid races for 3-year-old fillies. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code SPA250 and we'll match them with $250 of your initial deposit. Head on over to Naira Bets. Check out track stats while you are over there as well. I think we have a bankroll builder today. Is that right? Yes, we do. $50 to win in the Alabama. Win or lose, you get $20 towards your bankroll next week. There's randomized who won it last year. In fact, we'll have try to have consecutive winners of a Wilton Alabama double as the number 6 horse, whose name escapes me like everyone, Miss Justify, will try to do what Randomized did last year, and she'll probably try to do it on the front end, just like Randomized did. We have a cross-country Big Five, and that's the Island at Monmouth. Do you know what horse got the highest buyer in the history of the Island? And one of those highest buyers recorded in history.
I don't.
Ghost Sapper with a
Oh,
128
very nice.
buyer winning the Island in 2004. And then we're here for Saratoga Race 8, the Select, a whole lot. They couldn't get me off fast enough, and this looks like a salad. I was warned it was a lot. FS2, 12-30 to 1, 1 to 3 in FS1. Fox from 3 to 6, 6 to 7 on FS2. And Lustgarten, guys. Did we forget about Lustgarten? We have a slate for Lustgarten. Do you want to remind people? I'm going to give you a second there. There we go. No, I meant the end, but that's fine. Lustgarten Day. And, of course, this is proceeds going to Lustgarten Foundation for pancreatic cancer research, and the trainers will be there from 11:30 to 12:30. It's one of the few times I will allow you to go there during Talking Horses and give a few dollars and get some autographs. And this is really in the memory of Dominic Lucio, who passed away just over 10 years ago. It's amazing how time flies. I was texting with Gary Gullo, who is his very, very close friend, this morning about it, and he said, boy, time flies. And it flies, but you don't forget people like Dominic, who was a big part of the training community here for many, many years. I actually first met him in the mid-'70s when he was the assistant trainer to Mike Hernandez, and had a very successful career and a very memorable guy, in that he was a very flamboyant dresser. If nothing else, you remembered for the lot of colors that he wore. But Dominic, very popular, but also an exceptional trainer as well, and a little purple. Got a purple shirt and a purple tie on today in honor of Dominic. And if you get a chance to go over there, it's for a very worthy cause and also the memory of somebody who was very important to a lot of people in the training community, and a lot of people. Linda Rice, very close to Dominic as well. So go over there, give him a couple dollars, get some autographs, and not a bad thing to be supporting Lustgarten Day.
Absolutely.
All right, we have 12 to talk about. Race number 1. We'll start with a sort of problematic situation, right? And you've got the 1A Moment's Notice, who I thought ran very well first time out, finishing 3rd behind of course, we talked about the Dallas Stewart Firster, and we saw Innovator run a very respectable race, I think a defeat, finishing 2nd the next time out. Thought she ran well, and then you've got this horse caught up in an entry with Midnight Bisou's half-sister, Sansone, though I think this horse worked. Was it you telling me or Maggie?
I was telling you about this horse having worked with that one that
was
ran,
off the
I
turf.
think,
It
for
didn't run
third,
well.
ran okay, and that other horse that ran 3rd did outwork this one in those 2 workouts that I watched with this one. So
And even if you want to bet this one, you're
Your
stuck
price
with
is
the 1A,
compromised.
so you kind of, from a betting standpoint, go in a different direction. And you have gone to the number 7 Social Hour, who comes out of the incentive play race.
a horse that seemed to be a part of an early pace that was coming apart in the later stages. I don't think we really have a good grasp on how strong that race was overall just yet, but Incentive Pay got a great ride right up the rail from Joel Rosario and was really with the flow of the race. Social Hour was not. That one was attacking the pace early on from an outside post position, and as the other pace was fading away, this one really tried to hang on until the later stages. I thought maybe having that early speed that we saw first time out, a little bit of a guess with some of these first-time starters, at least could be forwardly placed, and was the one with experience that I wanted to give another chance.
I would certainly, like you, prefer that horse to Perfect Force, who finished a length or so ahead.
With the race
Because
flow.
Perfect Flow, I mean, well, was reasonably close to the pace, but there's no question. Social Hour did more of the dirty work. As you said, it's hard to know how good that race was. Now, Incentive Pay did have some problems in there, didn't break, steady on the backstretch, but it was a race, as you say, that was falling apart in the late stages, and I don't disagree that Social Hour. I don't love that Social Hour wasn't bet that heavily that day, so you kind of wonder how good the horse was. And you also have to wonder about, other horses in this race, some first-time starters. McHale, the number 4 for Mark Hennig. There isn't really much on a pedigree side, but they paid a lot of money for this horse. Interesting to see if this horse takes some money. And I guessed with the Phil Bauer firster, because Phil seems to win somewhere around 50% of his races up here. So I figured I'll go for the coin flip. And it's funny, it's $290,000 weanling Ohio bred. It's a half to 5 foals that don't feel like they could outrun you and I in a horse suit. So I kind of thought it was a lot of money. And I looked up Phil, first-time starters, 2-year-olds, dirt sprints. He's 5 for 18. 12 of them hit the board, 222 ROI. Now, he wasn't winning at Saratoga with Ohio breds in these races, but I thought this horse might have a little bit of a look for a trainer who just always seems so dangerous.
I agree. And there's a lot of versatility within those offspring in terms of what they were doing, either sprinting,
Slowly.
routing, turf, dirt. Not the fastest, but at least they could
doing
handle
it all slowly. They
yes,
could do it all.
They could all do it very slowly. Right. But look, the dam at least won her first 2 starts dirt sprinting. Vacoma's been on fire with his 2-year-old first-time starters, 31% as of now. And this one just seems like a precocious type that should be ready to go first time out.
All right, we'll see what happens in race number 1, the 2-year-olds. Always looking forward to seeing the 2-year-olds up here. Race number 2, these are the 2-year-olds going. We haven't had a lot of the turf routes, especially for colts. Some have been rained off, but this one features a couple of Chad Brown runners. You've taken one of them, the Frankel on the inside. That's a half to the router Spanish Moon, who wanted to go about 36 miles. Spanish Mission,
yes.
excuse me, about 36 miles. I took the other one, the Clarvich Verster. I will tell you, be honest, I feel like Chad told me about the Frankel once. What he told me about it, I have absolutely no idea, because my mind's like a sieve, and I don't think we've ever talked about valuation metric. In fact, I'm sure
so
we
have a lot to go on.
But I'm gonna go with this one, and I'm gonna guess with Chad Brown, and with the valuation you guess with the other one.
Yeah.
You may have more solid ground than I do.
I don't really. I mean, there's pedigree here, but as you mentioned, the sibling that was most successful wanted to run all day. This is not quite that much of a marathon. It is that route distance, but it's not going a mile and a half per
Not
se.
a lot of 2-mile races for 2-year-olds,
Not
thankfully.
much going on, but also have to dude in Colorado who could handle the shorter distances as well. A horse that was graded stakes placed as a younger one too. So I just thought this one, getting that inside draw with the rails being down on the inner turf now as well, saving that ground would be valuable in this race.
Yeah, no, I've no argument, and it does seem like saving ground was valuable on the inner, so I'm not going to knock it. The horse who has a really good pedigree as well is the 3 Policy Changer. You have Nowhere and I have second. Now, I'm not saying that means you're wrong by any stretch, but there is a ton of pedigree. I have to 4 to try it, and they were all good turf horses. So there's a lot of pedigree wanted to use that one. And Concord Green, the 5, also has plenty of pedigree for Shug.
Yeah, oh, I totally agree with that. I think this was one of those horses that was entered and rained off recently, so this one has at least been ready to get to the races for a moment, and the pedigree's there, as you said.
To Scarlet Sky.
Yep.
Yeah, the horse that Chad Brown had, and Christophe Clement's horse. They paid a lot of. They didn't pay. I'm sorry, they didn't pay a lot for this Constitution, but we'll see if this one's a runner. You know what? I'll tell you the horse that scares me. The horse you have 4th.
Sam's Rocket, who they so intently want to get into a turf route.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, for people wondering, this horse they paid almost $1 million for, and it ran once in the dirt, lost all chance to start, has been rained off twice. And I think we both kind of figured, well, Bill would probably leave him in.
At least
and
once.
I think the fact that he scratched both times suggests he really wants to get to the turf. Now, maybe he can't run, or maybe he's just saying, I don't think he can run at all in the dirt, but I think he's dangerous too. I didn't fit him in there, but you have him 4th.
I thought that he was so interesting because we'd seen him scratch out twice, like you mentioned. There is clear intent to do this. Maybe he's not all that fast overall, but I think that intent speaks for itself, and as well as the purchase price.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. The 4 Dragoneer goes out for Danny Gargan, who obviously, I mean, it's sort of a mixed bag, and I thought the workout at the sales was actually pretty impressive for this horse, working 9 4/5. And interesting to see that workout, but then you want to go long. It's a McKinsey. There is turf. I mean, the dam did win on the turf. I don't know what to make of it. The problem I have with picking it is Danny's barn is incredibly cold. And, Danny has the leading 3-year-old in the country right now. So, I mean, I guess if you're a trainer, you would take having a lousy Saratoga, but also having the best 3-year-old in the country right now. I think most would trade that position. But, I mean, Danny has had 10 starts. He has failed to hit the board with any of them. This is a trainer that normally wins at a fairly reasonable percentage. So at this point, you're sort of waiting for the barn to get a winner. Maybe the first-time star is the one that turns it around. around. And there is enough turf pedigree, at least on the dam side. And, you know, we'll see with McKinsey if he turns out to have some turf as a sire. It's probably more distance why they did that.
Yeah, and I would say the meet Danny Gargan is having aside, when he starts these 2-year-olds or any horse first time out turf routing, it's not a successful move for him. A trainer that does have some good stats in other areas, so that's something that steered me away from this one as well.
Fair enough. Race number 3. Race number 3 is the we're back purse. And we'll start with Bandita. It's funny that Bandita is finally running because David Aragon had mentioned, I think this horse was working with the Pletcher horse that broke its maiden first time out at Gulfstream and came back and won here a few weeks ago. The Colt, the horse that was scratched out of Fountain of Youth when he ran off.
What's his name?
Yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out. Something up or something on, or I don't know. Anyway.
I know who you mean.
And David said the horse was working with this horse. He said, remember Bandita? And we looked her up, and,
Yes,
and now
yep.
she's back, and it's been a long, long time, a year and a half. But that horse that she's working with came back and ran very well.
Yes.
I think getting a high 90s by her. I think 100 in the debut, and then got like a 97 to 99 the other day. I just don't know what to say.
Right, she runs her first race. She's the winner of this race. If she can build off of that, she's just been away for a long time. And I remember she was actually entered at Churchill this spring and scratched that day.
Okay.
And I don't remember why that was, but has
Nobody,
she been, has
nobody
she
called
been,
you and let you know?
No, no one gave me a phone call. She didn't personally come by and let me know, but where is
Interesting. She was entered Churchill. Okay.
she scratched? So I just wonder, where has she been and why has it taken this long to get back to the races? Because clearly there's ability based on that first race.
She was not working the party circuit. I thought it was interesting she's back at 6 furlongs because she's a gun
Instead of
runner who
stretching her out.
debuted at 7. And it almost, and you know, you can read too much of these things, but to me, it suggests that they probably want to get a race before she stretches out. I could be dead wrong about that. I'm just saying, and maybe this is the race that came up, and Todd said, I got to get her into a race, and that doesn't mean she can't win, and obviously it's dangerous. I have Todd up year plus in dirt sprints. He's 4 for 19, not particularly good. At Nairi's 2 for 10, low ROI, but it's very hard. You know, there's a small sample size, and she did run obviously very well in her debut, but so did Nick Style, the number 4. And at least with Nick Style, layoff or not, it's only 8 months, and switching to Bill Mott, I'd be more scared of this one. I thought that debut, believe it or not, was more impressive and leans more to sprinting this horse, way she's run in both of her starts.
I would say that I agree that the intent is here more to keep this one at these sprint distances. As you can see, she really opened up nicely on this field under mild urging, a similar number to that 91 by her speed figure that Bandita ran in her solo race. And at least with her, she has had those 2 starts. She's had those 2 victories. You know that she can run well off of a break in her races because that's what happened the first time. But again, you're still taking that question mark of how is she going to come back to the races, and it's not like this is a super easy spot to return to.
So we're both on a fool's errand to try to beat both of these horses, and you talk about Benedetta.
The 2-year-old form is at least there with this one, having won first time out and then finishing second in that Sorrento in California to Dreamfire. I don't want to hold the Del Mar debutante against her too much because she was facing the leader of the 2-year-old filly division
Something
on the West
also
Coast.
went wrong.
And clearly she was in some traffic there. Then she's off for a long time, as you mentioned. She's had the start for the recency, unlike the 2 foes that might be better than she is to her outside. A speed and fade at Churchill Downs. She needs to improve off of that performance, but at least she has that recency edge over 2 horses that are going to be much shorter prices.
She was involved with a pace with a horse, I believe, that ran last, that had been running figures, you know, about 15 to 20 points higher. So you can suggest that maybe she really did get done in the pace that day. I spent a lot of time trying to make the exact same case for her that you did because I totally see that logic. I opted against her, but I see the logic, and I don't think it's in any way, I mean, it doesn't matter, but I don't think it's unreasonable at all because she does have fast races early as a 2-year-old, and, you know, which get her into the 80s, and, you know, we'll see what kind of numbers the 2 and 4, or are unable to run 90 buyers. So I do see the argument. And listen, I'm taking a horse that's slower too, but I'm going to take this horse off the claim. I think Fernando Abreu is very sneakily been doing extremely well. And not just lately. I you know, sort of caught his eye when he came here last year with some horses, and they all seem to be running well. This horse does have a fast race tree back. I don't think she ran that badly last time, and I understand she's going to have to improve, but I'm going to take this horse off the claim. I thought she was an interesting claim. The one thing that scares me a bit is she is an ex-Jacobson horse, but ex-Jacobson or not, she's run well since the claim, which is unusual.
She has, and I think with her, I really question where does she belong from a class standpoint, but let's pretend Bandita and Nick Style aren't here. Is she really so overmatched on paper
No.
with what we've seen from everybody else? No. I can understand wanting to throw her in the mix because she is very consistent, regardless of what level of company she's really been facing over time. And as you mentioned, what barn she's in as well.
Yeah, last time was the time for stop giggling, but maybe betting against horses from Flying P is more
mistake.
than a fool's errand. More than the fool's errand we have picking against the favorite. Interesting race number 3. We'll see. Maybe it's just all about the 2 and 4, but Sarah and I have some different ideas. Race number 4, I think it's important to note in race number 4 that the 12 Boss of All gets in. You know why she got in? Because I debated sending the replay in with her. And I thought, I'm not going to waste anybody's time sending a replay.
So you
with
told her
horse
you
buried
weren't
on
going to show her race, and then she was like, I'm going to race
Well,
today.
I mean, you know, I just thought, do I need to send in this replay? I actually literally had this mental debate and decided against it, and she gets in. And I think you have to respect her. She was in tough last time, and she ran well 2 back. And I think, you know, I moved her into my picks after the scratches. I just didn't think she'd get in. And I think, you know, these kind of horses sometimes people miss a little bit. So I'm against. And the horse you have on top, I'm not against. Hugh, I've got her second. I feel, though, Sarah, I'm surprised you picked this horse. I'm not saying
I didn't pick this horse. My horse scratched.
well, but regardless, you
Yes.
picked her today. That
Yes.
doesn't. No, you picked her. And I'm not. Listen, I've got her second, so I'm not saying, you know, I think you're an idiot for doing it. I just feel like, man, this horse is going to be bet off a dirt race, and
Right.
this horse, the dam was good on the turf. Why is Brad Cox just? It's like he doesn't want this horse. Then she wins big, and he runs her for a tag on the turf. Sort of the surface she was always recommended. And listen, I've got her second, so I'm not knocking you for picking her. I'm just saying, doesn't this horse have a bad odor?
A little bit. Look, I don't want this horse at a super short price. I originally tried to pick against with Turf Rocket, who's not going to play today, but there have always been turf intentions with this horse, at least.
Well,
and
because she has a turf pedigree.
exactly. There is that turf pedigree to suggest on the dam side for sure. And I worry about the tag a little bit, as you mentioned, running for the maiden 50, but it's not as though this is a major drop in class, finally getting to the turf in terms of where you would normally put them after they break their maiden for 50.
Fair enough, but I'll say it another way. They dangled her for 50 last time after she ran lousy in her debut, and nobody took her. Then she ran well enough in the dirt that she seems like she's sort of worth 40 or 50, right? So she ran well enough in the dirt, and if somebody can claim her and say, well, I don't know if she's a turf horse, I've got the, you know, the shit that she could be a turf horse because she has pedigree, and what if she improves on the turf? And if not, she's probably worth 40 right now, you know, as a dirt horse. And I'm not, like I said, these are intangibles, and I mean, they're thought, you know, people say you're overthinking the races. It's not overthinking. They're important things to think about. You and I made a decision that we're not wholly against it.
Right.
But I think when she runs 8th here, I think you're, you know, or 6th, you say
It won't
there
be
were
the
some
biggest
warning signs
surprise.
about her.
Sure. No, I
know.
don't disagree with that. I think it's more just with her. Yes, they got the purse last time. They kept her in the barn. Okay, that she didn't get claimed. If she gets taken for 40 today, they've already made the money they made last time, and they kept her as well.
This is a race that changed with the scratches, because not only is the 12 get in and it's going to be forward, but the pace changed dramatically when Quiescent came out.
Yes.
And that sort of changes everything. I think it hurts horses like the 10, Peak Earnings, and I'm not sure if Peak Earnings has really run that much at all. And
Is that horse that good?
I don't know. No,
Yeah.
she's not that good. Could she win here? I suppose, but she's not much. But she's no killers here. I like Empire's Princess. You know, this is one that Linda Rice sort of claimed back at Churchill. They tried going a turf route. She's a turf sprinter.
Yes.
And if she's able to run back, I think, to her turf sprint debut, and after that, she just faced better horses than she's running against. I think she might have just found the right field, and I just think there's a chance she's better than these horses, and that's her. He's better. She's better. And
she's
that's sort of where
interesting.
I'm going. That's
I kind of wonder why the stretch out, but I think that you have to see what boxes you can check with a horse like
Right.
this, having that versatility on both surfaces, and this might just be where she fits best.
may have been the race that came up for her to run in, but I do like her in a turf sprint. We'll see what happens in race number 4. We'll break after 6, by the way. We'll get halfway through the card. Race number 5, a couple of scratches. I don't think they really affected the race that much. In this race, a bit of a mishmash. McCaw is the horse to beat. I don't think there's any argument against that. Off her race 2 back. Now, they moved her up last time. She obviously didn't run well, but involved in the pace. I guess the question with her, and you and I both have her second, is how much shorter price you want to take on her on this sharp drop. Claimed for 50, ran for 100, and now running for 20. And she's also lost 2 photos at short prices.
And I was going to say bet last time as well on that cutback in distance. Favored on debut, just finished second. Seems to be one that just keeps getting caught at the wire. And I liked that this horse did show some speed sprinting, is likely to be forward, now stretching back out again, but I don't know how this horse is really going to end up running in this race in terms of, are they going to all out send towards the front end and hope that she hangs on, because she hasn't been able to do that as of yet.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. You know what? I think that she's the horse to beat. She's probably the speed in here. She's probably faster than Cowboy Luke. As far as the 9, is there an argument to pick the 9, other than the fact that every Saffie Joseph horse seems to be running off the screen? And if that's the reason a lot of people are betting her, I'm not knocking that as a reason, but handicapping her, she's almost impossible to like here, other than the fact that trainers' horses seem to be running extraordinarily well.
Connections help, obviously, but this one only been in for the tag one time. It was over a sloppy sealed surface on the dirt. That was also his only dirt race. And there's just seemingly this pedigree that suggests that this horse would prefer the synthetic and the turf, but has never been in for a tag quite like this on a racetrack that is fast.
Right, but there's so little in his pedigree to suggest, and even in the handling of him, that this is what they want, a dry dirt track. And it's almost like, okay, didn't run well on the turf, didn't run well in synthetic, let's try dirt. Oh, didn't run well on a sloppy track, let's give a dry track. And listen,
it's just crossing off excuses, it really is.
I'm not letting any Saffie Joseph horse at this point beat me. He could run her in the Alabama, and I'd probably use her the way his horses are running. But to me, he is a horse, excuse me. There's just no reason to take this horse unless you just think Saffie Joseph's horses are all running.
Well, it's that, and it's also, what have we seen from everyone else so far? At least this one is doing something different.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, Les McCaw just completely just can't run anymore and did get involved in the pace last time. There are some decent figures. And remember, the Chief is just a horse I'm committed to losing some money on one more time. I lost money on him 2 back when he switched to Carlos. Thought he was live in there. He chased outside. He was bad. There's no doubt about it. But I do think his first race, he actually ran reasonably well. He showed some real interest in that race late. Then he came back. He ran against Unmatched Wisdom in a race where he was like in a grade 1 compared to these. Now he drops down even further. He's not going to be a super short price, so I'm giving him one more chance. At least he's got figures in the 60s somewhere that puts him within hunting distance to the 7. The 7 takes a step back. And I think the other horse, obviously, and we have all the same horses here. I think we saw the race relatively similarly. Salacious. I mean, but he's dropping off the clip, and man, was he bad last time.
And plenty of
In the slop,
chances, too. I get that this one was in regular maiden special weight company at Tampa for a while, but just when I see that they've racked up all of these opportunities without really doing much, yes, there is some change in terms of class, but how much? Saratoga 20,000.
Well, how much? Okay, Whiskey and Soda got lucky to win yesterday, but did win, and did run a big figure in finishing second. I think you like Cartucho a little bit later today.
A little bit.
In a pretty tough field. So it's not like this horse, just because he was running at Tampa, was running against a bunch of bums. And
I'm
he
not
was
saying it
running
was.
figures.
I'm just wondering, is it really that much of a class drop?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's a gigantic class drop. I think he's dropping off a cliff. But, I mean, it doesn't mean he's going to win. But,
Right.
Well, I mean, you say his last race was a sloppy sealed track. You give him that excuse. And I don't love to give that excuse, and I don't love this horse. But,
No, but
yeah,
it's something you can make.
This is the second likeliest winner on paper based on his dry track form. Is that
Yes.
fair?
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yep, I would
I
agree
mean,
with
you
that.
and I are both taking shorter shots. I have a reason. You have a reason. It's fine.
Yep.
But I don't know that necessarily either one of us are going to be standing on any solid ground when everything's said
We
and
never
done.
are. It's okay.
No, that's not true. Race number 6. So I'm not sure who you highlighted. You tried to help me, but I was busy at breakfast and my head was spinning. But I want to take a look at the horses that come out of the July 21st race, won by Hush of a Storm. And I guess we're going to look at,
Rough Draft, Lock and Key, and Let's Go Big Blue.
yeah, a lot of people are going to think the interesting horse is better lucky than good. No, he was lucky because he came through on the rail and had everything go his own way, a smidgen of traffic. But obviously, Let's Go Big Blue had the softest trip of all of them and ran well. He ran fine, but he had a very soft trip. Whereas Rough Draft was 4 wide in the first turn, 3 to 4 wide in the second turn. The other one, Lock and Key, was 3 or more wide the whole way around the track and still did manage to make up some ground at the end. So for me, I want the horses that were in bad position in this race. And I thought the Rough Draft absolutely had the worst trip of all of them by far.
He did.
So I'm leaning to those two. If I lose to Let's Go Big Blue, I salute you, but I don't
There's
think there's any way based on that last race he's supposed to beat either one of these.
there's nothing to salute based on that last race. The other two had worse trips than he did while he was saving that ground on the inside. But if you look back at some of his other races where he hasn't had quite that advantageous of a trip, and he's faced some of these horses in the past, I just kept coming to the fact that I thought he was a little bit better than them. And I tried to make excuses for both of them in multiple situations, but then looking at his overall form, I just thought that he might be a little bit more forward and a little bit better than both of them. In terms of that last race, I understand wanting to take a chance and bet rough draft or lock and key based on their prices, but I thought on overall talent, he might just be a step above.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree. I think, listen, you do have to acknowledge that Call Me Harry is kind of oddly the horse to beat in here.
He just
I
doesn't
mean, we both
win.
have him third, well, but he's running against significantly better. He's losing to Duke of Hazzard, who was in very good form last year. I thought his Balloony race 2 back was actually very good. He had no chance in the Kelso.
No.
So you got to be careful, and he's probably in front of Laurel Valley in this race, so I don't love him. But he might also just be finding a much softer spot to be running in. It's not that any of the horses we like are that good.
Right. I think it's with him that you're looking at all the races that he comes out of and the company that he's kept as being better, and he's just very obvious as a horse that's likely to be forwardly placed and getting some class relief. But even when he just hasn't won in a long time.
Well, but once again, he's running faster races and losing horses that are just better than these horses. And I think you have to be careful. Is he lost because he's a loser, or is he lost because he was running and he's finally getting significant class relief in this race? It's a big drop for him. We'll see what happens in race number 6. We'll take a break, and we'll be back with the second half of the card, beginning with the pick 6 and race number 7.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Want to get that picture of Dominic Galuccio up there and remind people the autograph signing is just starting, and you have my permission just today to take a couple minutes away from talking horses, or you can go at the end because they'll be there for over an hour. Trainers are assembling over by the Silks room behind the Jocks quarters and signing for a good cause for the Lustgarten Foundation in honor of Dominic Galuccio and to raise money for pancreatic cancer awareness. But there's Dominic, and not purple, but flashy look there. And Dominic's been gone over 10 years, but remembered very fondly still by his many friends at the New York Racing Association and beyond that as well. She's Sarah, I'm Andy. Race number 7. Thought these turf races were fun. I think this is one of the few races that we agree on a horse, and I'll let you talk about Mendelssohn's March.
I want to give this horse another opportunity after that last race, coming back off of the long layoff, because this horse was facing such tough 3-year-old males at that time. Some of the best in the division, Webslinger, Farbridge, Carl Spackler, so hopelessly far back in that race last time out, and just kind of a little bit too bad to believe that this might be who he is now. I think that maybe he's a horse that ran into a good one in Taking Candy, who was coming off the layoff, who had finished second to Carl Spackler in the Saranac last year, and maybe just needed a race to get going, because this horse has some numbers that make him pretty competitive in what I thought was a very wide open race.
I agree with most of that. I think the extra distance also probably helps him in here. And to me, watching his last race, I thought he had a nice little tour of the racetrack. I also don't think he lost by 3.5 lengths. I think he lost by 5 lengths, and I'm going to start getting serious after my mind comes back together at the end of this meet about talking about margins at the end, especially of turf races, because they're inaccurate day after day after day, and it's frustrating. But I agree. I think second off the layup there's a chance. But I'll tell you something. He's got to beat this horse. I see. You have him fourth. I don't agree. I think that Reckoning Force is way the horse to beat in this race. I thought his last race was very solid. He lost to a solid enough horse in Gray's Fable. I thought he will take that look at that replay. I don't think he's going to have a problem with a little more distance in this race. He's got good efforts, and I think he is a very dangerous horse for Brennan. I put the 6 on top because he'll be a better price, but I have no illusions. He's got to beat Reckoning Force.
And I think that you can forgive the race 2 back as well because he doesn't really want to go a mile and a half either. I liked this effort finishing second in here behind Gray's Fable. Thought that this one had faced some of those similar types in the past as well in terms of stakes quality horses. And I guess that maybe overall he's done quite a bit more on the racetrack in terms of where he's finished and showing that consistency than the horse that you and I both put on top. But at the same time, where does he really belong from a class standpoint? He's not quite up to the stakes level to be able to win some of these graded stakes races, but he's right around there.
Well, he's running where he belongs. I think he belongs in here. What did I miss on the 11 Red Run?
Just a horse that's been very cool and consistent, and I think really just is one of those true marathoners overall. We saw this horse run well on dirt as well as turf, running behind a horse like Next, who is the top older marathoner, and I just thought a little bit interesting towards the outside as one coming in for Mike Maker with the horses that he's faced overall in the past, and just knowing that this one can run all day.
Well, his first couple of turf races were pretty good. I'm not going to argue with any of that. I'm getting a little tired of some of these horses. I think Freedom Trail is a dangerous horse in here, and we'll take a look at him finishing second, 2 back, and in a good race. Daunt, who just doesn't seem to have his act together this year at all, finished third in there, and this was a better horse in Daunt, and I thought it was a good effort. Exact Estimate came out of this race and ran a very good race, probably should have won, I think, the Artie Schiller or something in a subsequent start. So I thought he was good. I just worry about John Terranova. I looked up 6 to 12 months last turf routes, 0 for 5, 2 at the board, short prices, not a big sample size. I worry about the layoff, but this horse is pretty good. I don't think he's impossible in here.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. And as you're talking about level of class and who everybody has faced in the past, he certainly qualifies from that standpoint based on who he has run against in the previous part of his career. He definitely graded stakes faced, and that field last time way over his head.
Yeah, the horse I think is dangerous too is Mondego, cutting back a little bit. I know he stopped last time. They bet him like they knew he had no shot last time. He figured to maybe be the favorite last time. For some reason, took no money. They seem to know Battle of Normandy, despite not having the right form, was going to win that race. And I think he's going to run better, coming back a little bit off of a very short rest. He's got too many good races for me to give up on him completely, and his price will be right. So I'm going to be involved with the 6, 8, and 9 in here. We'll see what happens in race number 7. Race number 8. A couple of scratches here, actually 3 scratches. And I think that's important for a couple of reasons. Obviously, Bank Frenzy's going to run the stake tomorrow. I guess as is Donegal Surges, right? He's entered the stake tomorrow.
Yep.
It's important, I think, because it moves the 10 in.
Yes.
And now the 10 only has post 7. And post 7, post 10 is a significant difference. This is his maiden win, going a mile and an 1/8. He tried the Curlin. He tried a very good horse in Unmatched Wisdom. He had a bit of a weird trip moving at the wrong places in that time.
He didn't even run that badly.
No, he didn't run badly. He also took no money. I thought he'd be shorter, frankly, in there off of this win. And he's beating Reynolds Channel quite easily, who cut back and ran well. And I'm going to continue to torment my friend Lee. Apparently, he's a cinch to win the Alan Jerkins next week.
Is he?
He's going to beat me, but he's a cinch. I talked to Lee.
Well, good to know.
The Alan Jerkins is going to be an excellent race next
Absolutely.
week, by the way, and a very big day of racing. I was going to pick him even post 10. I like him more with the scratches.
He just seems like one of those types that's shown that progressive improvement and really taken those steps forward as he's had that racing experience and as he's stretched out in distance as well. I mean, when he broke his maiden, like we saw there, that was his highest 95 buyer after 2 in the 70s. And as we mentioned, facing tougher last time out in that Curlin, Unmatched Wisdom, Corporate Power.
My picks, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I apologize. No, my picks here are 10, 6, 2, 1. I may have sent them inaccurately. They're 10, 6, 2, 1, please. I'm sorry. I probably sent them wrong. It's probably totally my fault, but the 2 is my third choice. I'm sorry, Sarah.
He's the logical horse to beat in this spot based on what we've seen from him so far, and seems to be one that had a gigantic workout last time as well, bullet best of 111.
We'll take a look at Rocketeer and D-Day Sky last time out, and go ahead.
I think that Rocketeer did all the dirty work in this race. He was up close to the pace, he was really forward, and he got run down by Moore's Law, who had been one of those horses that seemed to have some ability and then not really shown up and had that consistency and really taken on that promise that he had once sort of had or buzz to start out his career. But that was a good effort from him winning this race, and I just thought that Rocketeer was the one who did all the work on the front end in that race.
Well, not right on the front end, but I thought did much more.
Than
No,
Moore's
I
Law.
agree. I agree. I've got him second. I just wouldn't want to say he did all the work because he was not on the front end. He was stalking. But I don't disagree with any of that. And I think with the scratch of the 4, it changed the pace dynamic. But I also think it changed the pace dynamic a bit for Digital Ops. And maybe Digital Ops is just an improving horse. And Pentathlon, I thought, ran pretty well to win the other day.
He did.
So I'm not sure Digital Ops couldn't be improving.
No, I don't disagree. And I think the race he comes out of when he was a 2-year-old, we've seen that race be very live moving forwards. And as we saw with Pentathlon coming back to win, Pentathlon seemed like one of those horses for a second to me that didn't really want to win. But I think that maybe now you've seen that he's a horse that actually was just facing some decent horses overall. And Digital Ops really not bet at all in that last race or on debut either. But it seems like if you can get either of the Chad Brown horses at a price, you have to try to take a shot with one of them. And based on who they've faced, even with the one Cartucho and Mindframe, I don't know. I thought that it could be a little bit intriguing.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about his last race where I took a small shot and bet a couple dollars on him. And Chad Brown asked me after the race, why did you like this horse? He's never shown me anything. So that goes to show why, people, I'm sure a lot of people, and I don't blame them, they were probably thinking, oh, Andy must have had a tip on this horse or something. And I'm thinking, God, thank God I didn't ask him.
A negative one.
I just thought he'd come out of a live race in his first race. And,
right.
he was also running in that race. Is it possible he was domestic product? Was the other Chad horse in that race? There was another Chad horse, I think, that did okay going forward in his debut.
In his debut?
Yeah, there was another Chad. There was a Klarovich Chad Brown horse in his debut. In his debut, Digital Ops. It was a
Digital
9-horse
Ops.
field.
I thought you were talking about Cartucho. I was like, well, I don't think so. No. That was the race that Drumroll Please won.
Yeah, what was the other? There was another Chad Brown first. There was a
Ball,
Klarovich first.
Pentathlon, Enlighten, Unique Insight, Hamilton's Way.
I'm guessing you can figure out by the names.
Well,
I can't see from
I
here.
would
Who's the
guess
horse
too.
below him?
This one, Unique Insight.
Sounds like a Chad Brown horse.
Does
He won
indeed.
2 races, actually, including a maiden and an allowance race. So he wasn't
And then
quite
tried the Peter
domestic
Pan.
product. Right. He was running buyers in the 90s. We'll see what happens going to mile and eighth in race number 8. We're on to the stakes portion of the card. We'll start in the Lake Placid, and I'm not trying to beat this horse, and neither are you. I've heard a lot of sort of silliness about her last race.
I'm glad you think it's
about
silly, too.
Why she lost, and it was, maybe it was a little past her best distance. And, I heard she wasn't covered up. She lost to a better horse.
Right, a horse that we saw come back and win for fun.
She ran terrific
Under
in
a
here. It was her
hand
second start. I'm going to say she ran better than her 6-length win on a rain-softened course against absolutely nobody.
And that course was good, right?
I think the second horse in this race, Sequesta's pretty good. So I don't think she ran badly. I think if she runs this race, she's going to win the Lake Placid Day. I'll put it this way. If she just runs her last 2 races, somebody beats her because they improved, assuming she doesn't get a bad trip.
And also, like what we were saying about the silliness is thinking that she's a horse that might need to be covered up, and that's what connections are saying.
They all want to be covered up. Everybody wants a perfect trip.
They could be completely right. What do we know? But she's been forward, and she's been very successful doing so without having horses come over on her and keep her bottled in. So,
and she should have won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. So, barring a bad trip,
I just want to see her be forward.
She's better than these horses. And I'll be honest with you, if she's 2-1, I think she's an overlay. I do. I'm not.
Who in here has run a race that's so comparative? Exactly.
Nobody in here has run well enough to necessarily beat her. Though I will say, to be fair, Dynamic Pricing actually ran very well to win the Edgewood. And we'll take a look at that because, she made a move outside. Most of the best running on this turf course that weekend was done towards the inside. And, he's going to get a little give today. She got a little give in this race. And she really turned her foot. And she had a ridiculous trip last time. And they knew she had no chance. She didn't take a nickel in that race. She got left. She bore in at the start. She made a big wide move in the stretch. She wasn't winning, but she's a better horse than that. And she is the main danger. She does have the race, that race that gives her a chance to beat the favorite.
But she has one race, and it was at Churchill Downs where she got some pace and she got a softer turf course as well.
Well, I think her second race at Gulfstream was extremely good, and
I don't
she
think
had
that wins
a
this race.
ridiculous trip in there. It was an early race, early in her 3-year-old form, and she can improve off of it. So, and she got in my opinion, a horrifically bad ride in Tampa. I don't know why she was last in that race. And the thing that made the difference for Irad was when Irad got her more in the race, just as Jose had in the race before it. And there they are, Team Reynolds Channel coming in right now. Lee has a bodyguard, and so
Yeah,
be
to
careful.
keep away from you.
He doesn't need one to keep away from me. And so I thought she had a bad trip that day. So I think her form has been good throughout her career. And she ran a 73 Beyer as a 2-year-old. So this is a good horse. And I think she's supposed to be the second choice in this race, to be
You do?
honest with you.
All right. Yeah,
Well, Lemon Muffin is coming out. She's an MTO. I don't know what we're expecting.
You don't want to pick
here.
her?
Well, I mean, you want Beautiful Love in here? Is it you've got her second? I don't want any part of this horse.
Why not? This is the horse that's run well against the horse that was able to defeat She Feels Pretty and run.
She didn't run well in there. She finished second by default, in my opinion.
At least keeping company a couple of times, not just in one race.
I
mean,
understand they were filling the races with her. I understand. Well, once she kept company with her.
Right, but I think that looking overall, you can't completely discount this one as one of those horses that has no shot.
No,
in here.
I'm not. Of course, she has a shot here. But one thing is for sure. These Godolphin horses are way overbet.
Yes, I
mean,
agree
for
with
that ridiculous horse to have been even money in the Saratoga Derby is a joke.
That was very
How many
silly.
races did that horse need to run to prove to people he's just not very good?
Right.
I mean, seriously.
Legend
They
of
made a
Time,
horse
was
in
it?
that caress turf sprint, like the favorite, and she had mediocre form from over in Europe, and she should have been like the 7th choice in there. So they're overbetting them. I agree.
will say at least this one won't be the favorite.
No, but
in all
I
likelihood.
don't think she should be. I'll put it this way. I don't think she should be shorter price than dynamic pricing.
Okay.
I think dynamic pricing is a more likely winner than her. And I didn't put her in there because I just think these Godolphins are all over bet. And, okay, she was second to her. And I will say, in fairness, some of those races over in Newmarket weren't that bad. She ran against some okay. They weren't great, but they were okay.
Yeah.
They weren't total bums. I'm just not sure about the horses that were behind Cinderella's Dream because they weren't very good.
No, that's a fair point to make. I mean, I think that just the fact that she has kept that company, she is coming over for these connections, she is going to take money based on that. But outside of She Feels Pretty and as you think dynamic pricing, there's just a lot of very even form following that. And I want to take a horse that at least has kept good company.
Okay. Yeah, I think she was just filler, but we'll see. Listen, their horses are often good, but always overbet. We'll take a look at Grayosh, and it should be noted, obviously they ran second, third, and fourth, and were elevated to first, second, and third after the DQ yesterday, but Grayosh was best in here. And the reason I was showing it really was to show how much better she ran than Proctor Street, because Proctor Street just got, and I don't blame Flavian, I think he just got a little impatient. And the truth is that Proctor Street, Tyler was a little more patient, and Tyler's back in last right now, and Flavian said, I'm going to go now, and went wide and went a little early. And when he went is when Tyler went off the rails. It's almost like Tyler knew, I'm going to follow this horse. This is the horse to follow in here. It reminds me of, they asked Julie Crone many years ago, how do you know what time it is to make your move? She said, when Jerry moves, I move. Something to that effect. And it's brilliance, I mean, in reality. And this was an excellent effort by both of them. And I'm sorry that the foal from the horse that won this race a number of years ago for these connections isn't running. But Grayosh ran well in here, and I don't blame you for having you. I have her fourth, you have her third.
I just thought that this one was going to save some ground. Flavian Pratt probably learned from that earlier move that he made last time, and I thought that this was a horse that, yes, she might be a little bit pace compromised coming into this race, but she's also one of the ones that she won at or she finished well at Gulfstream during a time where Chad Brown was not winning races much at Gulfstream. So I thought that that was also interesting that she wasn't bet. She finished third on debut at a time where his barn was not going well.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that sentiment. I don't think his barn was going well because he's running a lot of bad horses. That was one of, it's not, I mean, there's so many incredibly moronic narratives on Twitter. I don't want to say it was one of the dumber ones, but it was up there. He just was running bad horses, but that's fine. And she's been good. I mean, I think she's improving and good. I also think Spaladay is improving. And
You like this horse.
I flirted with putting her on top because she's going to be a big price in here. And listen, she didn't beat a good field in this race. She's going to have to run better to beat this field. But to be fair, Brockardini did come back and run second here the other day. So it's not like she was impossible. And this horse is really improving. She was also, didn't have the best of trips, I thought, on June 8th. Though, she was moving wide the second turn. She saved some ground in the first turn. I thought she ran very well in here. And looking at that field, I think that race stacks up a little better than it may look. I'm going to give her a chance in this race. I think she might be the one that's improving as quietly. But I'll tell you something, though. I didn't think Dynamic Price would be 6-1. I think you don't like her. I think she's an overlay at 6-1 in here. I think
Spaladay?
dynamic pricing. I think she's
Dynamic pricing.
clearly the second likeliest winner
Okay.
in this
Yeah,
race.
I'm not a fan. I would rather take Spaladay.
We'll
But
see what happens in race number 9, the Lake Placid. And a fun running nonetheless, though I
Yes.
am sorry that the Proctor horse isn't running. So the Alabama, I got to tell you, Sarah, I struggled mightily with this race. I don't feel like I have any real handle on these horses, who they are.
the best of the rest.
I understand. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, they're the best of the rest going long. I mean,
Yes.
Ways and Means is probably the second best. Who knows where Just FYI is at this point? Unfortunately, horses that are heartbroken by Torpedo Anna. I don't want to take a short price on Candied. That's my biggest opinion in here.
I'm with you there.
I get it. I'm not going to argue she's the horse to beat. I wonder if she gets better with distance. There's a part of me that really wants to see Manny Franco win this race. He had ridden randomized before, and he lost the mount to Joel. And, there would be some poetic justice for Manny, who I'm the champion of Manny's fan club. I kind of like to see him win, and she is the horse to beat.
She is.
I just don't want 7-5 on her getting a mile and a quarter in here. That's
No,
all.
and look, so much was made of her not switching leads in many of her races. Well, she finally switched leads last time, and Torpedo Anna's just better than she is, and I don't really think it made that much of a difference in where she was going to finish in that race, and not in the number she earned either, because I thought that 99 that she earned at Monmouth facing older might be a race that would have been hard for her to replicate.
She's not running a 99 buyer.
No, so I think we also saw that happen in that CCA Oaks as well.
Tom Amos, who I like to disagree with, but I'm not going to disagree about training things with him. He's won a few races in his life. I thought he made some really interesting points on the show yesterday, talking about, in general, how the switching leads thing is way overrated. He basically just was, I thought it was really interesting because you hear all this talk, switching leads, not switching leads. I don't know what it means for sure. I understand you're getting on the fresh lead. You're supposed to. Tom
But
just
if you're
sort
not
of-
as well developed
Tom
in
just
terms of muscle on that side, it does-
somewhat dismissed it out of hand as a
Yeah.
major factor, and I thought that was fascinating.
And I think
he's
that's
won a lot of
fair,
races.
because a lot of the times you do see riders that are very intent on getting that lead switch and focused on that shift in balance more so than just going forward.
Yeah,
and I would rather just go forward.
There are things we talk about that others think are important, and doesn't mean that they're wrong and I'm right. I think we talk about kickback way
Sure.
too often. I think horses with experience, unless there's a severe kickback situation like maybe we had Belmont weekend, in general, horses learn to run through kickback. Closers have to learn to run through it,
Right.
or they're never going to win any races. And so I think that we talk about some things somewhat, and I was really interested in what Tom had to say about that. I was in the show yesterday, go and check it out. Miss Justify. She's going to try to do what Randomized did. Now, she's no Randomized, not now, probably not ever. She's got to be the speed. I mean, doesn't Flavian have to just go with her?
I mean, you'd think, but she also is a horse that's getting more distance to work with, which also enhances that argument. At the same time, is she really going to be ahead of the number 2 Chatalis?
Well, she's a lot faster than her.
On paper.
Chatalis. I believe it's Chatalis.
Yes, Greg was letting us know this morning about the
Correct.
pronunciation.
I actually wrote it down. That's a
Oh,
rarity
wow.
for me.
I was told that we were going to be sent the correct pronunciation.
Well, I spelled it the way I'd get it right. I mean, if Chatalis in front of her, I think the connection's made a mistake, in my opinion. I just think she's supposed to. I don't see
She
Miss
is supposed to
Justify
go.
winning this race
I don't think she's
from
going to
behind.
win.
I don't like her either, but if she wins, she's going to wire the field,
And I
in
just
my
don't-
opinion.
Right. I agree with that. If she wins, it will be on the front end. I don't think she's going to win, period. But there isn't a lot of pace in this race, but I think that everybody's going to be sort of in tune with that and keep some of their horses a little bit closer.
I don't think it's going to be a crawling pace. We'll see.
Right.
So you've got Power Squeeze on top. Let's take a look at her winning the Delaware Oaks. I think Sidamara was hoping she'd be in here. I'm guessing. I don't think she'd had like one work maybe after this race. I don't think she's worked. Anyway.
I like her. I've always kind of liked this horse, one that really was sort of outrunning her odds early on in the 3-year-old season, who did defeat Ways and Means when she had that awful trip in the Gulfstream Park Oaks and was coming off the break as well.
She was lucky to win that race, but she
She
still
was,
ran
but
well.
she still ran.
Yeah,
And
no,
at
I'm
the
not
same
gonna dispute
time,
it.
I think that we're so quick to forgive horses that don't perform in the Kentucky Derby. Well, she didn't really show up in the Kentucky Oaks, but I think that she came back with at least a performance that was somewhat back to her original form in that Acorn, finishing third at a big price behind Torpedo Anna, behind Leslie's Rose. And I liked that last time in that Delaware Oaks, she sat closer again to the pace, a horse that had been more tactical in the past and doesn't need to come from so far out of it to be successful. So I like when she's kept a little bit closer. I think the sort of lack or murky pace.
You think she's going to be close in here?
I don't think she's going to be that far back.
I do.
Mid-pack?
No.
No.
I don't. But I don't know. I didn't think about that much. I'll tell you something I disagree with you on. I don't think she ran horribly in the Kentucky Oaks, and I actually thought she ran really well in the Acorn. I mean, nobody was picking up ground.
I said she ran well in the Acorn.
Yeah, nobody was picking up ground in that race. I actually think that might be one of her better races. It might be like her best race. I don't know that she's going to win this race unless she loves the distance off her last race.
Yes.
I think she's more likely to win it off a race like her
earlier
Acorn
on in the
when
season.
she ran well. I agree. And I think one thing about her is she's showing up in better races, and she's running okay in them.
She's been very consistent.
And the others, you've got the Indiana Oaks and the Iowa Oaks winner, and we'll move from them to the Indiana Oaks, Chitalis.
Yes.
And listen, I will say, she was very game in here.
She was.
But who was she beating? And Impel doesn't really look like Impel. You know what I mean?
No, and I will say the one time that I can say this, I was there that day, and we were really developing a inside speed bias towards the end of that card. You needed to be forward, you needed to be on the rail to be successful in some of those later dirt races. Many trainers thought so as well, and I think that was why they decided to be so aggressive with her and keep her forwardly placed. And
I always get my bias information from trainers.
yeah,
That's where I go.
It
Really?
was
You thought so?
it was
I
apparent.
looked at that card pretty carefully. I didn't see that. But
It
okay.
seemed like that was a very common belief that you had to be forward and had to be towards the inside in some of those dirt races. And I did feel like that was how you saw things play out, because no
I
one
didn't.
was really making up ground in those later dirt races. And that's what led me to putting Neon Icon in the mix, a horse that, if that is the case, would have been compromised by being a little bit further back, not being forwardly placed.
Well, wait. She was towards the inside. She wasn't far off the rail.
No, but she was far back. You had to be inside speed.
She was 4 lengths off the pace.
You had to be the horse in front. It was a merry-go-round track. That was exactly
Steve, do me a favor. Check those races out of Indiana, because I must have missed
Dragoon
it. 'Cause
Guard
I
was-
looked it up, and I didn't see that at all.
That was
I could be wrong.
That was why Dragoon Guard was so aggressively handled in the Indiana Derby, because I was asking Brad Cox after the race, what happened with this? Was the intent always to go to the lead? And he said, well, after Impel and some of the way that the track was playing in the Indiana Oaks, yes, we thought that we needed to be forward in order to be successful. Whether you believe that or not,
I don't.
But
okay,
what
I'll
was
take
said.
another look at it. The problem with Neon Icon, and she's 1 1/4 miles, much like the 4 is, that she's
slow.
woefully slow. So you're just hoping that they all sort of fall apart to get her home in any regard in here. And that's the thing with Just Basking. And I listen, I'd love to see Wilkes win this race. Ian's a good man, and I'd like to see him win. And she did win at 1 1/4 miles, but man, she didn't beat much, because when you look at the 3 to 5 McPeak horse, Shimmering Gold, she didn't show up at all in this race, and it was just nobody else in here.
no, and I think that looking overall, when you first see that her second place finish to Sitamara and then coming back with a win, running well at Churchill Downs, and really taking that step forward, so it seems last time, I agree with you. Who was in that race, really? I know that she made that nice, visually impressive, wide sweeping move to get the victory by open lengths in this race, but this is just a tougher ask than what I think was in that race overall.
Right. If you're using the 4 and 8 in here, you're doing it based on distance. And that's fine. I'm not going to argue that. As far as the one Intricate who I picked, she's obviously going to have to run better than last time. I do feel like she's going to handle the distance. I'm not worried about that. And I'm just wondering if she's taken a little while. Now she's third off a little bit of a layoff. And maybe today is the day she runs her best race. She draws well the inside, can get a good trip. And I feel like she has the races last year as a 2-year-old. Early as a 3-year-old. And also last year as a 2-year-old, with the big win in the Goldenrod, where she did get a perfect trip, to be fair, but she did run a big race that she has not run back to those races in her first 2. And maybe she's a horse that's just not going to ever run back to them. But if she's going to do it, third off a layoff, today's the day to do it. And it's 6 to 1. I mean, Dave's got her 6 to 1, and his odds are usually right. He's got the same price as Miss Justify. Well, I'd like to bet heads up that she beats Miss Justify. He's got her a similar price to Chitalis. I think she beats her. He's got her a bigger price than Just Basking. I'll take my chances she's better than her. I wouldn't bet her in this race at 3 to 1, but if she's 6 to 1, I'm happy to bet her in a race where I'm going to be honest, Sarah, I'm not going to fall out of my chair at just about anything in here.
Well, the thing with Intricate is you know where she at least fit at one point from a class standpoint. Now, maybe she was a better step above. We got to get out of here?
We got to go. We got
I see
like
Paul
4
on the other
minutes. I'm
screen.
sorry. Well, Paul's a man who gets there early. Let's go to race number 11. We'll look at Yo Daddy quickly. And we didn't mention Game Warden in the other race, which was stupid because it's a flying pea horse. And I mean, I'm surprised they don't have somebody for the Travers next week. They'd probably be
Maybe
favored
they will.
in there.
We'll see.
And the one problem I have with Yo Daddy is he doesn't win.
No, he doesn't win. He was closing after the Game Warden. This was a race where the pace was honest enough. I thought that he got somewhat with the race flow, and I don't know. I just don't want to take him at a short price because, as you just said, he does not get his picture taken all that often.
What'd you do with unlimited potential in this race?
I put him third. I mean, if he runs that last race, yes, they always seem to think something of him. He has the races to go back to, but then he dropped off a mountain to win this race, and he was supposed to win this race like this based on what we've seen from him.
And Whiskey and Soda came back to win, but was extremely lucky in a much weaker race.
And not a 92 buyer horse.
This horse ran well. I don't buy the figure. I want to see it again. I don't want this horse claimed away from Todd. I respect the Cantermachi's great deal, but I don't trust this guy. You've taken Storming Chrome.
This one, I don't know how good this horse is, but at least has had a little bit more consistency overall. And I thought that this one, yes, there are some more seconds than wins, but I liked the horses he's been facing. I like that the DePaz barn is going so well here in Saratoga. And with some of these intangibles at shorter prices that aren't quite as consistent, I just wanted to go in a different direction.
Okay. I mean, you know, I'm still smarting from losing the photo with this one, too, back. I want to take the 4 Who's the King in here. I don't know, you know, why they were so aggressive with this horse. Not Who's King was Yo. What am I doing? The 6.
Right.
Have you heard?
Yeah.
I'm
heard?
I'm getting a little frazzled here. I don't know why. Irad is a sensational rider. I'm sure Irad looks at that and goes, maybe I don't know why I went to the lead. Maybe breaking from the rail, he felt like he had no choice. I don't see this horse as a speed horse, and I'm hoping gets the different kind of ride in this race. And I liked the horse last time. I have to give him a chance at a bigger price based on the ride he got last time. Steve agrees with me. He says he doesn't see a bias at all. Okay. We'll see what happens, though, and others can feel free to check in and weigh in on what they thought was going on the day. You and I agree in race number 12, I believe. We'll take a look at Beautiful Thief. I know Heart of the Night finished ahead of her, but man, she ran really well in this race.
She did, and I think that this is going to be that horse that just makes a lot of sense. Now switching over to the George Revo barn, he was
a little cold this meet, though. George is 1 for 20-something, right?
Well, he's sitting right around that 1,000th win. You know, when you get close to a milestone, you can't win anything.
That's what it is? Okay.
Yes. I don't know. I thought that this one, as well as the Heart of the Night and the number 3 horse, just made a lot of sense in this field because otherwise it's just a lot of guessing with horses that I've either seen too much from or don't see enough on paper with.
Yeah, I'm going to use Naughty Destiny, who was 2 to 3 wide on a gold rail day last time out. And I don't think this horse is that good, but I thought was a little bit interesting in here. I didn't have much else to say about this. Like you, I think Beautiful Thief is way the horse to beat and a short price in the morning line. Sarah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're out of time. You need to go over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, use the promo code SPA250 and we'll match the $250 of your initial deposit. Check out Track Stats when you are there as well. We also have a bankroll builder for the Travers. One last one. 50 to win and anybody in the Alabama. Win or lose, you'll get $20 back. Immediate value in the Alabama today to get that bankroll. Got a cross-country pick 5 as well. 2 at Monmouth, sandwiched around a little. 3 races at Saratoga, including a couple of stakes. 4 of the 5 races will be stakes. Lots to do with the show today. We're on from 12:30 to 1 FS2, FS1 from 1 to 3, the Big Fox Network from 3 to 6, covering the big stakes as well as a few others. And we'll wrap things up on FS2 from 6 to 7. We tried to have a solo shot by Rajiv Mirage, but we were shot down.
Oh, so disappointing.
It really is, for so many people.
You should have Romero on.
Most specifically Lafitte.
Yes, he's most disappointed of all.
Lustgarten Day, not celebrating, but remembering the friend of many at the New York Racing Association and many in racing, Dominic Lucio, who died way too young of pancreatic cancer. If you haven't already, get over there now and get some trainer autographs. Drop a couple dollars in there in support of a very good cause, the Lustgarten Foundation. Thanks a lot, Sarah. Thank you so much. Terrific job as always. Frank Miramati, he hasn't done a terrific job yet, but I have a feeling he will. He's up next, the reprise, the Scratch and Changes. Enjoy Alabama Day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please rise, direct your attention to the winner's circle as well as the flagpole in the infield as we once again proudly welcome back Savannah Gordon for our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets had glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the brave and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, Savannah Gordon. Welcome to Saratoga Racecourse, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you on track, we've got about 15 minutes left. So we would love to have you go out and join the Lustgarten Foundation trainer autograph session. It ends at 12:30 on the Jockey Silks porch. All proceeds go to the Lustgarten Foundation for pancreatic cancer research. And we have some great trainers out there. Among those, right now, Christophe Clement is out there, Cherie DeVoe, Jenna Antonucci, Danny Gargan, Kenny McPeak, and several other trainers are participating in this trainer autograph for Lustgarten Day, with all proceeds going to the Lustgarten Foundation for pancreatic cancer research. It's a great cause. Head over right now to the Jockey Silks porch and get your favorite trainer's autograph. The track is fast. The turf course rated as good. If you'll take out your official programs, here are the changes. In the first, no scratches or jockey changes. There is a workout posted for number 5. Race 2 starts the early pick 4. Scratch number 1A, Complex Agenda. Scratch 7, Royals Pride. Note that number 8, Jerry's Out, the jockey Louis Rivera Jr. Scratch 12, Strategist. 13, Academy. 14, West Beach. And 15, Thurham. In the third, no changes. In the fourth, the following horses are scratched. Start of the middle, pick 4. Scratch 7, Turf Rocket. Scratch 8, Quiescent. Scratch 13, Thirsty Accountant, as well as 14, Bella Voce, 15, Ghostbust, and then 16, Find Your Joy. Middle pick 4 offered on the 4th. Mandatory payout pick 5 on races 5 through 9. Scratch 3, Vincita. Scratch 6, Mighty Glory. Note that number 9, Remesis, is a gelding. Scratch 11, Smooth and Easy. Note that number 9 is a Ridgeling, not a gelding. Let's not go too far with that. Ridgeling it is for number 9. In the 6th, number 2, Lock and Key, races with a cheek piece again. Scratch 11, Neural Network. Scratch 12, Shadow Dragon. Scratch 13, Colloquy. And scratch 14, Horse Be With You. Pick 4 offered on races 6 through 9. In the 7th race, scratch 1, Duke of Gloucester. Scratch 1A, St. Andrews. Scratch 5, Catch a Wave. Scratch 12, Lucky Curlin. Scratch 13, Divernon. And scratch 14, Costa Terra. In the 8th, scratch number 4, Bank Frenzy. Scratch 8, Django. And scratch 9, Donegal Surges. Keep in mind that the pick 6 starts with the 7th on races 7 through 12. Late pick 5 starts with the 8th. Late pick 4 begins with race 9. That's the Lake Placid, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Scratch 1, Deep Satin. Scratch 6, Leray. Scratch 9, Proctor Street. Scratch number 12, Lemon Muffin. Lemon Muffin has now been scratched. Scratch 13, Manama Gold. And scratch 14, Camera. 1, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14 out of the 9. The 10th and featured event is the 144th running of the Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales. Grade 1 event has no changes. In race 11, scratch 5, Win 99. And in the 12th, scratch 1, Lucy Playa. And scratch number 12, Good Mission. Enjoy your day here at Saratoga Racecourse. We have 15 minutes left for the trainer autograph session. It's going on right now at the Jockey Silks porch. This trainer autograph signing, with all proceeds going to Lustgarten Foundation for pancreatic cancer research. It's a great cause, and some of our top trainers are there right now meeting the fans. Great opportunity to get up close and personal with your favorite trainers. They'll be at the gate for race 1, start of the early pick 5 in 20 minutes. Welcome to Saratoga Racecourse.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
The New York Racing Association welcomes you to Saratoga Racecourse. Your safety is our primary concern. If it becomes necessary to evacuate Saratoga Racecourse, please follow these guidelines to walk calmly out and away from the 1863 Club, the apron, the main building, and the backyard. Those in the 1863 Club basement area will go up the center staircase or the loading dock area staircase. Patrons and employees on the first floor use the loading dock stairs or exit out the main lobby exits or out the front doors. Turn right toward the loading dock area or turn left to the horse path and proceed out onto the track. Those on the second floor will walk down the main staircase and out of the building or use the pedestrian bridge over to the main building. Those on the third floor will go down the center staircase or the west end staircase down to the loading dock area and continue out and away from the building. If you're located trackside on the clubhouse apron, on the dining porch, or the grandstand apron, walk forward onto the track through the emergency exit trackside gates. Turn right or left and continue along the outside rail to the exits. As you're exiting, please be mindful of any horses that may be in the area. Those in the interior clubhouse and grandstand areas will exit out into the park areas in the rear of the building and continue out through gates A and B for the grandstand and gates C and D for the clubhouse area. Those located in the second floor clubhouse box seat areas, left or right of the winner's circle, will walk down the nearest unobstructed staircase to the apron area and proceed out the trackside gates onto the track. Turn right and continue along the outside rail to gate 10. Those in the club terrace dining and standing areas will utilize the metal staircases at the rear of the building down to the ground level and continue out gate C. Once in a stairwell, should you encounter smoke or other obstructions, leave the stairwell immediately and proceed to another stairwell. Those in the first and second level turf terrace dining areas west half will proceed down the west end fire escape to the ground level and continue out gate D. Those in first and second level turf terrace dining east half will take the east end staircase onto the clubhouse roof, then continue down to the ground level and out gate C. Third and fourth level turf terrace dining west half will utilize the rear or west staircase down to the ground level and proceed out gate D. Those in third and fourth level turf terrace dining east half will utilize the east end staircase or ramp down to the clubhouse roof, then continue down to the ground level and out gates C and D. If you are in the second floor club seating, sections D through L, or the grandstand seating, sections M through Y, including the stretch seating area, proceed down the staircases to the trackside apron and proceed out onto the track. Turn left or right and continue along the outside rail to exit. Those in the second floor easy-goer dining area will go down the staircases at the rear of the building to exit through the park and out gate B. Those in the paddock area and paddock tent will walk through the paddock and out the saddling area emergency gate. Please be mindful of any horses that may be in close proximity. Those in the other rear park areas will proceed out the nearest unobstructed gate. All egress aisleways and emergency exits must be kept clear of personal articles and items. Once outside, please continue away from the gates and await further instructions from public safety personnel. Elevators and escalators will not be in use during an emergency evacuation. Guest services and security personnel will be available to guide and assist ADA guests and anyone who may require additional assistance. This concludes our evacuation plan for Saratoga Racecourse. Thank you for being prepared in advance to respond calmly in an emergency. Enjoy today's events.
Carson Gambaro brings the horses onto the track for the first race at Saratoga. Start of the early pick 5. No scratches or jockey changes. They'll be at the gate in 7 minutes.